What's it like being an ordinary yet overly confident man? Just because I confessed to my childhood friend Willow. Her entire dorm ridiculed her for a whole semester. They even said being confessed to by a guy like me was worse than eating crap. But I've always been the type to pay back every slight. So, out of anger, I confessed to every single girl in her dorm, except the one who laughed the loudest. Chapter 1. I like you. I confessed to my childhood friend. No sooner had the words left my mouth than I heard snickers around me. Not just one person's laughter. When I lifted my head, Willow's roommates had somehow surrounded her. One of them, tall with delicate eyebrows and almond-shaped eyes, was laughing the loudest. She was holding her stomach, unable to straighten up from laughing so hard. I knew her. She was our school's swimming goddess, named Maria. Between laughs, she said, "I can't believe it. A boring nerd actually likes you." On the far right was my classmate Sophia, with her doll-like face. She shook her head mockingly and said, "Some guys are just way too full of themselves. Show them a little kindness and they start fantasizing. See a pretty girl and dare to confess. Let's be real. When a hot guy confesses, it's called romance. When a loser does it, that's called harassment." Sophia, enough. Everyone, stop laughing. You're making George lose face. How embarrassing for him, said another girl, slim, with a sweet-looking face. She pretended to pity me, but her upturned eyes carried unmistakable mockery. I ignored them all. My gaze stayed locked on Willow. She had always been gentle, kind, and considerate. She hesitated slightly, lifted her hand to stop her roommates from laughing, and then, in a soft and polite tone, rejected me. "Thank you for liking me, but I think we're better as friends. Friendship can last longer than any other kind of relationship. I hope you find someone even better." The sting of getting handed the good guy card had barely settled in, when her three roommates started mimicking Willow's words sarcastically. "Oh, I hope you find someone better." At that moment, shame and self-loathing pressed me down. The guilt-driven humiliation rushed straight to the moral high ground in my mind. Willow's roommates made me realize one thing. Being confessed to by me was a disgrace. I had embarrassed Willow. Chapter 2. When I realized I had embarrassed Willow, I began deliberately avoiding her. Willow and I were classmates. She was the class monitor, responsible for collecting homework and handing out test papers. Every time she walked past me, I shrank like a turtle, head down, not daring to look up, avoiding any eye contact. Willow and I were childhood friends, living in the same neighborhood, so, after school, we had always walked home together. Willow was too gentle. She didn't seem willing to lose me as a friend. Nor did she want our classmates to notice the awkward atmosphere between us. So when she came over, she acted as if nothing had happened. She softly called my name. With a smile, she said, "George, shall we go home together?" Without lifting my head, I awkwardly waved her off. "No, not today." I couldn't see Willow's expression. Only heard her let out a quiet sigh, her voice low. She said, "All right then, I'll go home by myself today." No sooner had her words fallen, than Sophia let out a mocking laugh beside us. Ever since my failed confession, whenever Willow spoke to me, Sophia would laugh sarcastically nearby. I didn't want to stir up trouble, so I always pretended not to hear. But this time, it was already the umpteenth time. I turned my head, locking eyes with Sophia. Her lively smile was still frozen on her face. I asked seriously, "What are you laughing at?" Then I said, "How about you and I walk home together after school?" Sophia froze instantly, like a startled kitten. Her body stiffened, and a flush spread across her strikingly pretty face. Flustered and angry, she snapped, "In your dreams, wasn't my confession supposed to be humiliating? Then I'd let her taste humiliation as well." I turned my head aside with satisfaction, only to see Willow watching me intently, her eyes calm as still water. Chapter 3. After I snapped back at Sophia, I thought that was the end of it. I just wanted to return to a quiet campus life, to study in peace and quietly stay away from Willow. Since my feelings for her had brought her ridicule, I would no longer bother her. I'd avoid appearing in front of Willow, so they wouldn't connect the two of us together again. But being in the same class, contact was inevitable. The teacher assigned Willow to design the classroom bulletin board. I had learned some drawing before, so the teacher named me to work on it with Willow. The next day, Willow was waiting downstairs at my building. Her slim figure swayed like the graceful branches of a willow tree in spring. I couldn't pretend not to see her. Bracing myself, I walked over. Willow handed me the design sketch for the board. Her eyes still clear and gentle. Smiling, she said, "Let's draw it according to this today." I nodded and replied, "Okay." Willow seemed not to notice my awkwardness. She chatted with me as if everything were normal. Tilting her head, she said, "Your exam results were impressive this time. You even climbed to 5th place in the whole school." She wagged her finger playfully and added, The cafeteria launched a new wrap, flatbread with spicy chips and sausage. A lot of students seemed to like it. Some casual, light topics. In the past, I would have racked my brain to keep the conversation going. But now, with all the awkwardness, I chose to escape instead. Escaping might be shameful. But it works. So I stayed silent, keeping a meter's distance as we walked. Willow kept talking. And I didn't want to be rude enough to shake her off. Finally, as we neared the school, she seemed to grow tired of speaking. She took a deep breath, paused, and had just started to say, "Hey," when I immediately waved my hand. And, sprinting with my 5-kilo school bag, blurted, "I need to rush to the bathroom. See you later." Like a cannonball, I shot ahead. At the school gate, bam. I accidentally bumped into a girl, nearly knocking her over. I was about to apologize. When I realized it was Maria, she gave me a sharp look and snapped. "Oh, it's the nerd from the next class. What's the rush? Reincarnation." Beside her was the same pretentious coquette as before. That's when I found out her name was Alicia. The school's elected campus belle. Alicia covered her mouth, giggling softly, and nudged Maria with her elbow. She said, "Oh come on, look at him. He must be in a hurry to find Willow." "All right then, so none of you plan on letting me go?" One incident, and they'd mocked Willow and me for an entire semester. I suddenly turned to Alicia, smiling right at the so-called campus belle. When an honest person smiles, it looks sincere. Alicia froze for a moment, then lifted her eyes to meet mine. Like a white lotus slowly blooming, I said directly, "I was hurrying to find you. At the last school party, I saw you sing on stage. You were amazing. I just wanted to tell you that. Now I've said it. Goodbye." Alicia's lips trembled slightly, and a faint blush spread across her cheeks, but I ignored both her and Maria, tightened my backpack straps, and dashed forward. Just as I rushed through the school gate, I thought I heard Willow's voice, confused, asking, "What were you all talking about just now?" Chapter 4. I think I may have found a way to deal with them. It's disgusting for me to confess, right? Then I'll confess one by one to all of Willow's roommates who laughed at me. However, I'll save Maria for last, since she laughed the loudest. Through the reflective glass, I looked at my own face, a buzz cut, black-rimmed glasses, and a spiritless expression. I've always behaved timidly, basically never taking the initiative to talk to other classmates. I only talk more with Willow. The rest of the time, I just stick to studying step by step. I look ordinary, and my family background is nothing special. I'm the type of person who could disappear in the crowd on the street without being noticed. When teachers or classmates evaluate me, they pause to think and then say, "George is an honest kid." That's the kind of plain person I am, an honest person. Confessing to Willow was the choice of someone timid like me, doing something I knew was impossible anyway. I don't think there's anything wrong with confessing, let alone that it counts as harassment. If you like, accept. If you don't, reject. I'll back off. But if all of you believe that my confession and affection are stains on an excellent person, if you use it as a tool to attack Willow, then I don't mind letting all of you be stained as well. Chapter 5. I like to break everything down into small steps. In my mind, every task has a progress bar, with detailed steps. That includes my revenge for their mockery of me. The first target is Sophia. After I snapped back at Sophia last time, she kept quiet for a few days, but soon, she became unruly again. When the monthly test results came out, Sophia was dead last. Her family is well off, and the only reason she got into class 1 was because her family paid someone. She wasn't good at studying to begin with, and since the teachers lecture quickly, she always ends up at the bottom. Although the teachers are wary of her family background, she drags the class average down too much, so when the results were handed out, the teacher couldn't hold back and scolded her. If you'd use even a little brain, you'd realize I've explained this problem countless times in class, yet you still got it wrong. I'm speechless. You're 200 points lower than the second to last. You clearly aren't suited for this, and yet you still. The teacher didn't finish, but the implication was obvious. It wasn't the first time she complained about Sophia transferring into the class midway. All the classmates turned to look at Sophia. As long as it was related to Willow, I avoided it, so I didn't look at her. The classroom was very quiet. The air seemed frozen. Then, I heard the sharp sound of a chair leg scraping the floor. It was followed by Sophia's voice. Unlike her usual sharp and cutting tone, this time it carried a clear tremor. She said, trembling. I listened, but I just didn't understand. So what? If I don't understand, I just don't. It's not like I'm taking the college entrance exam. Her words only made the teacher angrier. The teacher couldn't help but scold. If you're not taking the exam, don't disrupt others. Everyone else here is working hard to study. Sophia's voice carried grievance as she retorted. Who did I disturb? The teacher said, your deskmate Willow. She got second in the whole class this time. Sorry, I was first. The teacher continued. Stop talking in class all the time. You two even share the same dorm. Can't you learn from her? A dull thud. I lifted my head and saw Sophia run out of the classroom like a bullied housewife. Chapter 6. Willow immediately stood up. The teacher, unable to keep face, scolded Willow to sit back down. She said, focus on your class. Don't worry about her. The school gate is locked. She can't run out. After class, I'll contact her parents. All the other students lowered their heads. The atmosphere in the classroom felt heavier. I noticed the teacher's voice while lecturing carried clear impatience. I raised my hand and spoke in a lowered voice. Teacher, let me go find her. I know her parents. I'll persuade her. The honest and studious persona I had built over time was working in my favor here. The teacher didn't doubt my lie. She nodded slightly at me. I walked out of the classroom, with no intention of finding her. I was worried Sophia would lose control of her emotions, grow jealous of Willow, and then use me to attack Willow. I was also worried she might expose my confession. I thought for a moment, considering the unoccupied places in the school. After circling around, I finally found Sophia in the auditorium. She didn't look like her usual harsh and biting self. Her head hung low as she sat in the first row. When I approached, she lifted her head at the sound of my footsteps. On her pretty doll-like face, her eyelashes were wet. She asked, "What are you doing here?" Her voice carried a sob, but she stubbornly tried to hold back tears. She looked like a little girl forced into the spotlight, being pointed at by everyone. She said, "I get it, you're afraid I'll tell the teacher that you like Willow, so the teacher won't trust you and Willow anymore." She let out a cold snort. The top student liking the second place won. Hilarious. I really want to see the teacher's expression then. She started spitting venom again, talking non-stop. I sat down beside her, letting out a sigh. I said, "I'm not worried about you telling the teacher." Locking my eyes on hers, I said firmly, word by word, "I came out because I'm worried about you." She froze for a moment, blinking rapidly, her lashes fluttering like butterfly wings. Maybe my gaze was too sincere, because she stopped cursing and slightly turned her head to avoid my eyes. I carefully chose my words. "I know you feel wronged, and that's why I'm worried about you. The teacher was wrong to say you have no brain, and she shouldn't have compared you to Willow either." At the mention of Willow, she reacted instantly, glaring at me. "Are you trying to say I'm not as good as Willow?" That's exactly what I thought, but out loud I said, "No, you just have different foundations. Willow focuses solely on studying, so her basics are strong. You, on the other hand, have wide-ranging interests, so your foundation isn't as solid. After all, you're a rich family's daughter. You've been exposed to a much broader world since childhood." I added, "But I think you're clear-headed, opinionated, outstanding, and independent. Smarter than Willow." Dear God, what a lie. If it were a normal person, they'd probably think I was insulting her. But Sophia isn't normal. Her eyes sparkled, and she eagerly asked, "Then how do you think I can strengthen my foundation?" "I want to prove that I'm smart." It seemed like Sophia had thought of an idea. She said, "Aren't you the top student in the class? Then tutor me." "Okay." She lifted her head, wearing the look of a young lady who had chosen her candidate. With arrogant pride, she said, "My family has plenty of money. If you help me raise my score by however many points, I'll give you 100 times that number in cash. 100 points would be 10,000 yuan. How could anyone refuse that?" Chapter 7. This money is really hard to earn, because Sophia is truly dumb, and her foundation is terrible. She just isn't cut out for studying. When I tutor her, I have to explain something 5 times before she understands. I really feel like giving up. After school, I was tutoring her at a milk tea shop. Even after the 5th explanation, she was still staring blankly with her almond-shaped eyes wide open. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the drink on the table and sucked it down furiously, using sugar to calm my irritation. When I raised my head to continue explaining, Sophia, however, was sitting very quietly. I turned my head to look at her. She sat in her seat, gaze lowered. Only the slightly trembling tip of her pen assured me she wasn't asleep. I pressed down my anger and said, "What are you spacing out for? Write the steps." I poked Sophia with my pen, but she softly said, "Why, you drank my milk tea." Shit. I looked down. The 2 cups looked exactly the same and had been placed close together. I must have picked up the wrong one just now. I quickly apologized. "I'll buy you another one." "Sorry." Sophia turned her head, her cheeks burning red. She said, "No need." We continued working on the problems. There was some silence and awkwardness between us. After a while, Sophia suddenly said, "Don't you like Willow? I don't think you stand a chance. A lot of people confess to her, and you're the most ordinary one." All the guilt from drinking the wrong cup just vanished. I calmly replied, "Oh, I see. Well, I don't like Willow anymore." She was shocked. "What?" Sophia's ears practically perked up. I paused, then continued, "I realized, I kind of like you." Yeah, being liked by me must feel disgusting. Huh. Especially for someone like you, a rich girl who's always had whatever she wanted since childhood. I quietly waited for Sophia to stand up and mock me with her usual sharp tongue, but the ridicule never came. Instead, she pressed her lips together and said, "Well, I guess you do have taste." Sophia awkwardly turned her head, as if trying to keep her mouth twisted in sarcasm, but the corners still couldn't help rising. She seemed to be looking at the billboard outside. After a while, when she saw I wasn't responding, she turned her head back, only to find I had gone to buy her a new milk tea. I said, "Here's your confession gift." I placed the milk tea in front of her. Smiling, I said, "Your first cup of milk tea in autumn." She gave a little snort and said, "Humph. I usually only drink Starbucks." Speechless. Chapter 8. Thanks to my tutoring, Sophia's grades improved quite a bit. As her deskmate, Willow clearly noticed the change. Willow asked her, "You actually learned this problem? Last time I explained it to you 3 times and you refused to listen." Sophia sat at her seat, carefully folding a milk teacup sleeve. After folding it neatly, she tucked it into her math book. Willow asked curiously, "What are you doing?" Sophia rolled her eyes and said, "Making a bookmark." After a moment of silence, Willow said, "How about I give you the bookmark the teacher rewarded me with after the last exam?" Sophia snapped impatiently, "I just like this one." With a loud thud, she slammed the book shut, as if afraid Willow might stare at it for too long. I was standing behind the blackboard, witnessing the whole scene. I had just finished drawing an illustration on the side of the board when Willow came over to me and said, "Break time is a bit short. Let me finish drawing the border first. After school, we can finish it together." I gave a small and handed her the chalk before turning to leave, but the moment Willow started walking toward me, Sophia's eyes never left the two of us. I thought she was going to make some snide comment again. Unexpectedly, Sophia darted over quickly, snatched the chalk from Willow's hand, and said with indignation, "He has other things to do after school." Willow looked puzzled. After all, Sophia and I had no interactions. Just as Sophia was about to mention the tutoring, I quickly interrupted. "I really do have something to deal with after school. Something came up at home, so I need to go back early." Willow pouted slightly. "I see." She lowered her gaze slightly, then suddenly lifted her head to look at me and asked, "Do you need my help?" Her eyes were soft, like the sunlight of early spring, warm enough to melt anyone. I shook my head. No need, because I was lying. There was nothing at home. It was Alicia who had messaged me on WeChat, inviting me to watch her music competition. Chapter 9. I had been so focused on studying that I hadn't even heard of Alicia. After asking classmates, I learned she was voted the campus belle on the school forum, though honestly, I suspect she canvassed for those votes herself. I don't think she's prettier than Willow. Many people describe Alicia as both talented and well-behaved, with a gentle personality. She's the same gentle type as Willow, except Willow looks a bit more genuine. At least she doesn't spend all day marketing her persona. After I praised Alicia as excellent last time, she added me on WeChat. Then she invited me to watch her music competition. Alicia participates in many music competitions, though most don't amount to anything. In essence, they're just ways to polish and package her persona. The competition was on Saturday. Meanwhile, Willow had messaged me on WeChat, asking me to do homework with her on the 2nd floor of McDonald's. Doing homework at McDonald's is really nice. You can eat burgers and drink soda. Normally, I would happily go, but because my confession had failed, I pretended I hadn't seen Willow's message. What can I do? After all, I'm a timid, honest person, and if I'm timid, then I have to behave timidly. There's a kind of cowardice called spiritual victory. So I cut ties with her in my mind, like a turtle retreating into its shell. If I can't see the problem, then the problem doesn't exist. I packed up and headed to Alicia's music competition. She asked me to meet her in the dressing room first. Inside, I saw Alicia already made up. At this age, very few girls wear makeup. Who could understand what I felt, seeing her with makeup on? Alicia sat before the mirror, seemingly very satisfied with her own look. She didn't look at me, only at her reflection. With makeup, her already pure and delicate face now carried a touch of allure. Indeed, she looked a bit prettier than without it. I walked over and handed her a cup of milk tea. Revenge also requires financial resources. This was the extent of my ability. She glanced at it and said softly, "Oh, just leave it there." Then she tilted her head slightly, as if admiring her beauty in the mirror. After deliberately leaving me hanging for 5 minutes, she seemed to find the angle where she looked most beautiful. Finally satisfied, she turned her head and said to me gently, "Thanks for waiting. I'm the 5th performer. You can sit in the front row. It has the best view." Not many people actually watched this competition. Most of the audience seemed to be parents and staff from the participating organizations. I said, "Thank you." I politely thanked her, placing my hands on my knees. looking a bit uneasy. We honest people are like that. In strange, unnecessary situations, we always feel uneasy. Alicia glanced back at me a few times, then turned to admire herself in the mirror again. Her eyes wandered between me and her reflection several times. 2 minutes later, I understood what she wanted. I said, "You look really beautiful, like a star." I praised her sincerely. Alicia shyly replied, "No way. I'm still far from a real star," but the joy in her eyes was impossible to hide, like a proud peacock. Chapter 10. In the corner of the dressing room, there was a girl who had been giving me and Alicia sideways glances all along. When she heard me compliment Alicia, she let out a sneer and deliberately raised her voice. "Alicia, is this your boyfriend? Your taste is pretty unique. Did he save your life or something?" Alicia immediately retorted, "Of course not. Don't talk nonsense." After saying that, she looked back at me, and seeing my expression, she seemed to realize she had said the wrong thing. So she quickly added, "This is my classmate. He's very good at studying." She put extra emphasis on very good at studying, as if that were the only reasonable explanation for why I could appear by her side. Then she continued, "You know, a lot of boys come to watch my performances." Alicia slightly lifted her chin, her smile as delicate and fake as a white lotus. I clearly saw that girl roll her eyes. Then she glanced at the cheap milk tea and said, "They're all just a bunch of broke losers. What's so great about that? I won't allow you to talk about other classmates like that. You're going too far." Alicia immediately stood up, indignantly accusing that girl. I didn't have a good impression of that girl, but honestly, I couldn't like Alicia either, because deep down, I knew Alicia agreed with her. She just wouldn't show it on the surface. That's why I liked Willow, because my muse never once thought of me as a loser. Her eyes were like a calm and clear lake, always reflecting my truest self. She had her reasons to reject me, maybe 1,000 of them, but I firmly believed money was never one of them. Such a wonderful Willow, and yet because of me she was mocked. Damn you, Alicia. After that girl was driven away, only Alicia and I were left in the dressing room. She wore the expression of someone who had just spoken up for me, her signature gentle smile still hanging on her face. Chapter 11. She said, "I still remember you once said I was excellent. Thank you for the compliment." Alicia lowered her lashes, her face looking harmless. I responded faintly with a She asked, "You don't like Willow anymore?" She sounded as if it was a casual question, but her eyes stared straight at me. The smile at the corner of her lips was like a night-blooming flower slowly unfolding through the reflection of the glass window behind her. I immediately understood Alicia's intention. That damned girl, she still wanted to use me to humiliate Willow. Her hand was behind her back, clutching a recorder. She wanted to lure out even the slightest hint of dissatisfaction toward Willow from me. Then she'd take that recording back, play it again and again in the dorm, in front of Willow, laughing at her mercilessly. She would use my foolish crush and stupidity as a knife to stab Willow. The girl stood before me, her white, fitted dress outlining her delicate curves, like a noble princess statue. She was smiling, but there wasn't a trace of laughter in her eyes. I didn't answer her question about Willow. I stood up and said with a smile, "The performance is about to start, isn't it?" When I haven't figured out a strategy, I avoid the problem. I pushed at the dressing room door. The door wouldn't budge. It was locked from the outside. I turned back to Alicia and said word by word, "The door is locked." I saw Alicia's gentle expression freeze. She quickly rushed to the door, pushing hard a few times. It really was locked. Alicia frowned, panic rising in her voice. "It must be Diana, the girl who insulted you earlier. She's always been jealous of me. My performance is about to start. My mom is watching the live stream. I can't let her be embarrassed." Her voice rose higher, trembling, completely stripped of the usual soft and gentle tone. I pulled out my phone to calm her, saying, "Don't worry, let's call the staff." But she shook her head. "I don't have their number. Even if you called the police, by the time they came, it'd be too late." Alicia's face went pale, as if remembering something unpleasant. I banged hard on the door twice and shouted, "Hey, is anyone out there? We're locked in." But there was no response outside. Alicia seemed to give up. She sat down on the stool, looking at herself in the mirror. She muttered bitterly, "Forget it. I won't be able to perform this time. Mom will say again that I'm not as good as others. Just like saying I'm not as good as Willow. Even though I've already tried my best." She probably thought she looked especially pitiful at that moment. While Alicia wallowed in self-pity, I scanned the room and saw the window that had reflected her recorder earlier. I grabbed the fire extinguisher hanging in the corner and smashed it hard against the glass. With a loud bang, Alicia jumped in fright. She frowned and was just about to say something, but I raised my arm and swung again with full strength. Crash! This time, the glass couldn't withstand it. Like shattered ice, the entire pane exploded instantly. Cool air and the noise from outside rushed in. I said, "Go out this way and join the competition. You know the way, right?" I turned back to Alicia with a smile. I'll explain to them. You go first. Come find me after the performance. She pressed her lips together. You, why? Alicia was completely stunned. Her eyes locked firmly on me. She asked, why are you doing this? She blinked, her face no longer carrying a gentle smile but instead showing doubt, scrutiny, and even a trace of being moved. I said, because I don't want to see the moonlight fall. I gave her a sincere, open smile. Alicia didn't say anything. I saw her carefully throw something into the trash can. Then she covered it with a tissue. She quickly lifted her skirt, stepped onto the stool, and cautiously climbed through the broken window. I handed her the violin and said, good luck. Through the broken window, Alicia looked at me. After a few seconds of silence, she said, thank you. After it's over, let's go to dinner together. The second target has been confirmed. Chapter 12. After the police came, they checked the surveillance footage. It really was that girl who had locked the door. She paid for the broken glass, and the organization, to appease Alicia, also gifted her a few etiquette and posture classes. Alicia really dabbles in a lot of things. I sighed as I closed WeChat on my phone. Alicia was still typing, but then several new messages popped up. I opened them casually. It was Sophia. She had sent me a bunch of cute stickers. When I didn't reply, she just kept sending them, almost flooding the chat, even though I had already told Sophia directly that I liked her. I had no intention of sweet-talking her every day. With Sophia, I had to keep things ambiguous. She loves overthinking and imagining things. Let her entertain herself for a while. When I still didn't respond, Sophia called me. Her excited voice came through the phone. She said, the homeroom teacher just said that the top 10 in this monthly exam can choose their own desk mate. You'll choose me, right? I replied, oh, got it. For me, it didn't matter who I sat with. It wouldn't affect me anyway. Just as I said that, a notification popped up. Ding. A transfer. 5,000 yuan. Right after I received the transfer, I heard Sophia's proud voice through the phone. She said, starting next week, you'll bring me breakfast every day. Understood? I replied. You don't need to send that much. A meat-filled pancake only costs 6 yuan. But she said, don't worry about it. Didn't you say you like me a little? Then if you're going to pursue me, act like it. I hung up in silence, just as I was about to open my book and study. Another message came in, this time a video from Alicia. It was her music competition video. I couldn't even be bothered to watch. She sent a message, my performance video. She seemed worried I wouldn't realize, so she explained it outright. I replied perfunctorily. Sounds great, Thank you. She wrote back, then kept typing. Alicia asked me, what kind of music do you like? I replied, I don't really understand music. Girls like Alicia, pretentious coquettes, don't actually care if I understand or not, nor do they care if I talk with them about music or art. They only care about being praised, being flattered. So right after saying I didn't understand music, I quickly followed up with, you're really outstanding. When you stand on stage, it's like you're glowing. Even though I don't understand music, I feel a trace of sorrow in your songs. You've been suffering inside for a long time, haven't you? If you don't mind, you can tell me about your grievances. I'll keep your secrets. If you try to bear all that negative emotion alone, I think that's really heartbreaking. Then I added, of course, if you don't want to share, that's fine too. I'll respect your choice. After sending those words, I lowered my head and continued working on my math homework. Goosebumps rose all over me, but circumstances forced my hand. A while later, she replied, I see. Then next time I learn a new song, can I sing it for you? I replied, sure, I'll look forward to it. I wanted to end the topic quickly. Go practice your singing, I still have homework to finish. The next second, she suddenly sent me a message, you can like me. Then she quickly retracted it. I froze, not replying. Then she sent another, I mean, you can try to like me, because I'm better than Willow. Retracted again. Another, you can try to like me. Okay, I can do a lot. I play violin, dance. Retracted again. What the hell, is she sick? Finally, she stopped retracting. She wrote, my mom is always away on business trips, so I've taken care of myself all along. I know fashion, I can do makeup, and I can bake. I learned all this by myself. Do you want to try being friends with me? I can make delicious snacks for you. I replied, thanks, but I need to do homework now. Doesn't she have homework too? How does she have so much time to play on her phone? My dad was already urging me to hand over my phone, so I sent back, I saw everything you retracted. After a minute's pause, she was still typing. Sometimes, half-said words make the other person's heart feel like it's riding a roller coaster. I typed one word on the keyboard. Okay. Chapter 13. The next day at school, I remembered to bring breakfast for Sophia. When I arrived, I saw her sitting properly in her chair. I placed the meat pancake and soy milk on her desk. I swear I had only ever heard women scream in videos before. This time, I finally heard it in real life. Her voice suddenly shot up so high it startled the student studying early in the morning. She shouted, "Ah, did you really walk several streets just to buy me breakfast? I'm so touched." In an instant, all eyes turned to me. I felt a bit embarrassed and quickly lowered my head, hurrying back to my seat. Since the teacher hadn't arrived yet, what had just happened set off whispers among the classmates. Very soon, it became the topic of small conversations. Willow's gaze shifted between me and Sophia. She let out a soft sigh, then walked up to the podium to maintain order. After morning self-study ended, Willow came to me and said, "George, the teacher asked us to go carry the homework books." I nodded and went with Willow to get them. On the way to the office, I stole a glance at Willow. She was slender, graceful, and her delicate face was calm. I quickly pulled my gaze back. The next second, I heard her clear voice. "After this exam, when it's time to choose desk mates, I'll choose you," she said. "Your physics scores are very good, and my Chinese is decent. We can complement each other." Willow spoke as if it were a very ordinary matter, but in my heart, waves were stirred. I wanted to be her desk mate. We walked side by side into the office. When the teacher saw us, she joked with the teacher next to her. "Our Willow is clever." I told her to find someone to help carry the homework. And look, she found someone right away. On the way back, I felt a bit excited. When we returned to our seats, I heard Sophia speaking to Willow. With a smug smile, Sophia said proudly, "Oh dear, I won't be your desk mate anymore, Willow." While working on her exercises, Willow casually replied, Then who will you sit with?" Sophia answered, "George, of course." He promised to pick me. I told him not to, but he insisted on choosing me. Willow's pen paused ever so slightly. Then I heard her gentle voice, "I was planning to choose George. He's really good at studying." Sophia's smile froze instantly. After that, neither of them said another word. Chapter 14. After class began, the teacher announced that we could choose our seats, just as the homeroom teacher was about to let me choose first. Sophia's serious voice rang out, "Teacher, I want to sit with George. If I'm his desk mate, I'll definitely listen attentively in class. Last time, when you said I wasn't studying hard, I already realized my mistake. Besides, George and my family know each other. He'll definitely help me with my studies." Since the homeroom teacher had scolded Sophia in front of the whole class before, she already felt a bit guilty. And with my earlier lie about knowing Sophia's parents, Sophia used those 2 points as leverage to make her request. Then, she turned her gaze toward me. With a pitiful expression, she said, "George, you also said you wanted to be my desk mate." Under the pressure of all the classmates' eyes on me, my gaze couldn't help but shift toward Willow beside Sophia. Willow's hand was tightly gripping her pen. Her eyes were lowered, giving nothing away. The homeroom teacher urged me, "Sophia makes a good point. George, what do you think? If I didn't choose Sophia, she would definitely get upset. She might even cry and run out again." The teacher's tone also clearly suggested I should choose Sophia. The surrounding classmates started whispering, voices rising. Through the crowd, I looked at Willow. I heard Sophia tugging on Willow's arm, pleading, "I know you're the best. Willow, just let me have this, okay? I already told the whole class about it. You can't embarrass me like this, right?" Then, I heard Willow's calm voice. She said, "Teacher, let me choose first. That way George can think about it." She added, "I'll choose Makoto as my desk mate." The boy named immediately let out a cheer and quickly packed up his things. Willow also began packing her bag. Her expression remained faint the whole time, showing no trace of sadness. Only, when she was packing, a few books slipped to the floor by accident. She crouched down to pick them up. I sighed and said, "Then I'll sit with Sophia." In my heart, I thought, "Willow, you've always been so considerate, always putting others first. You always take care of everyone's feelings, but what about your own?" Chapter 15. Sophia and I became desk mates. She happily sat beside me, then leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Of course I get to sit with you." I gave her several shopping cards. "You know," she added, "isn't it great sitting next to me? You're so happy you can't even speak. Huh. Now let's see how you perform next." Those lively almond eyes of hers sparkled so brightly, practically overflowing with pride. Being desk mates wasn't in my original plan, because I always believed people should have some boundaries. It's better to pull and push within the lines of those boundaries. But it's fine, I had my own way of handling it. For now, my main task was to prepare for the final exams. I had to take first place, so in class, I ignored Sophia and kept my head down taking notes. To my surprise, Sophia was also diligently writing beside me. I found it strange, since when did Sophia study so hard? After class, she handed me what she had written. With a proud, playful tone and an upward lilt. She said, "Here, this is my strategy guide on how to win my love. Just follow it step by step to pursue me." Curious, I took the paper. On it were written things like, 1. Say good night to me every day. 2. Bring me breakfast every morning. 3. Walk with me on the track under an umbrella when it rains. 4. When it's cold, lend me your school jacket, but only me. She really went all out. One class period and she had written 50 rules. Impressive for her little brain to come up with so many things. I slipped the paper into my textbook, neither rejecting nor eagerly responding. That was my tactic with Sophia. When she saw my action, her beautiful almond eyes lit up instantly. Her lips couldn't help curling upward, though she tried to suppress it to maintain her proud persona. The result was an adorably awkward expression. She said, "Then let's do number 23 now. I'll read my book while you feed me snacks." I brought both the snacks and the novel. Sophia placed a romance novel and a bag of chips on the desk. I said, "Okay." Sophia immediately picked up the book, pretending to read, but her darting eyes kept sneaking glances at me, anxiously waiting to be fed. I slowly tore open the bag of chips. Sophia was practically dying of impatience. Her little fidgeting grew more obvious. She could barely sit still. The pages of her novel rustled loudly as she flipped them. I handed her a chip. Her eyes lit up, and she quickly tilted her head to bite it, like a kitten being fed. Her pretty face glowed with joy, but my hand didn't withdraw immediately as she expected. In that brief moment of her daze, my fingers naturally slid upward, lightly brushing across her lips. There were crumbs, I said in a low voice, expression calm. At the touch of my fingers on her cheek, her body froze. Then, with visible speed, a flush spread from the roots of her ears, flooding her cheeks and neck. She pressed her lips together and muttered, "What are you doing?" Turning her head shyly, she awkwardly fixed her eyes on the novel, leaving only a scarlet ear visible to me. "You're taking advantage of me," Sophia said, her voice growing smaller and smaller. The class bell rang right on time. I immediately focused on studying, as if nothing had happened. A while later, Sophia pushed a note toward me. On it was a doodle of an angry little girl with the caption, "I hate you." I slipped the note into my book without replying, continuing to listen intently to the lesson. Beside me, Sophia was completely thrown off balance. The entire class period, she couldn't sit still. Her doll-like face stayed flushed. At times, she poked my arm with her pen cap, trying to get my attention. Other times, she scribbled furiously on scraps of paper, then crumpled them up and tossed them at me. I kept a straight face and tucked them all into my textbook. Just before class ended, the teacher asked us to review what we had learned. I picked up my pen and quickly drew a simple heart on Sophia's book. I wrote, "But I like you," until dismissal. Sophia never turned to another page. She just kept staring at that one. Hooked. Chapter 16. Break time was short. I just wanted to sleep. I was exhausted. But Sophia kept chattering endlessly in my ear. When she started insisting I buy her a pair of couple silver rings she had taken a liking to, I couldn't hold back anymore. With a hard tone, I said, "That's childish. I'm not buying them." She instinctively lifted her chin, full of spoiled arrogance, and said, "If you really loved me, you wouldn't think it's childish." I said coldly, "I already told you, I'm not buying them." Sophia pressed her lips together, trying to give herself an out. She said, "Well, fine then. Honestly, I was just kidding. I don't really want to wear those kinds of rings anyway. They are pretty tacky and cheap." Sophia immediately lowered her demands. When she saw me ignoring her, she ran out of the classroom in frustration. Who knows where she went? After she left, a slender figure walked up. It was Willow. She waved at me gently and said in her soft voice, "George, I don't really understand the last big math problem. Can we go over it together?" "Sure," I nodded. Willow obediently sat down in the seat in front of me. She deliberately avoided Sophia's empty seat. She lowered her head slightly, revealing a pale, delicate neck. Her profile in the light looked cool and a bit distant. I glanced at the problem and began sketching auxiliary lines. The classroom was quiet, only our hushed discussion and the scratching of pens could be heard. Very quickly, that silence was shattered. A sharp female voice burst out beside us, anger laced with grievance. She shouted, "What are you two doing?" I looked up and saw Sophia standing there, clutching 2 bottles of drinks tightly in her hands. Her chest rose and fell, and her eyes were fixed fiercely on Willow and me. "We're doing a math problem," I said briefly, but Sophia seemed provoked. She slammed the drinks hard onto the desk, then shoved Willow. She yelled, "Get away from him, get away." Sophia's spoiled outburst was too much for the classmates. Many already disliked her. Everyone started criticizing her. One said, "They're working on a math problem. When they're done, they'll explain it to us. What's your problem?" Another added, "Seriously, even if you don't study, you shouldn't stop others from learning." Someone else muttered, "Poor George, having to sit next to you." The classmate's words turned Sophia's cheeks bright red with anger. Willow never argued with anyone. She simply sighed helplessly and turned to leave. Before leaving, she handed me her Chinese notebook. She said, "George, didn't you miss writing down some answer templates during class? I copied them. You can use mine." I had just accepted the notebook and was about to thank her, when Sophia suddenly exploded. She snatched the notebook away, and like a madwoman, tore it to shreds. She screamed hysterically, "You disgusting pretentious coquette, he doesn't need your notes. You're not allowed to go near George." The harsh sound of ripping paper filled the air. White scraps fluttered before us and slowly drifted down. The entire class was stunned by her insane behavior. The room went utterly silent, leaving only the faint sound of paper settling and Sophia's angry, tearful gasps. As the sheets fell to the ground, Sophia furiously stomped on them again and again. "Have you gone insane?" I asked. Lifting my gaze to her, I said, "Do you even realize how important those notes are to us? You don't study, and now you're ruining it for others too." The accusation in my eyes made Sophia freeze instantly. I said, "Apologize to Willow, then copy her notes over again for her." My voice was ice cold. My eyes locked on Sophia. Now, it was time to close the net. Chapter 17. Forget it. Willow frowned, just about to ease the tension, but the moment her voice sounded, Sophia acted like her tail had been stepped on, exploding on the spot and screaming, "I don't need your fake kindness." Her gaze shifted to me, cold-faced and expressionless. Her pretty face was full of disbelief and resentment. Her sharp voice carried a sobbing tone of grievance. Choking back tears, she said, "You want me to apologize to her?" She continued, "George, how could you sit with her and smile while doing problems? How could you defend her? How could you make me apologize to her?" Each of her questions was louder than the last, nearly hysterical. I said, "You're too vicious." I continued to condemn Sophia. My words made Sophia tremble all over. It was visible, the rims of her eyes turned red instantly. Her long lashes fluttered like butterfly wings, trying to hold something back, but she couldn't stop the tears from spilling down her cheeks. She bit her lip and whispered, "You said I'm vicious." She repeated the word, her voice suddenly dropping, but the tears still kept flowing. I said, "Isn't it true? You're the most vicious and brainless person I've ever met." Sophia, words are knives. All the hurtful things you once said. Every second I spent with you afterward, I never forgot them. Now this knife, I thrust it back into you. Do you feel it? Looking at my cold expression, Sophia stumbled back a step, almost staggering. Tears stuck the strands of hair at her temples to her pale cheeks. Lowering her voice, she said to me, "George, I hate you." The moment the words fell, she shoved the chair aside and ran out of the classroom. The classmates around us were stunned. They had always thought Sophia wasn't normal. Today confirmed it. I could only reassure the others. "It's fine. The school gate is locked. She can't run out." Chapter 18. The next time I saw Sophia was after school. Most of the other students had already left. Willow and I were on duty, finishing up the classroom, so we stayed behind a little longer. As we were tidying up the desks, a head suddenly peeked in from the doorway. Then, Sophia walked in hesitantly. Her pretty almond eyes were swollen, like a kitten that had just been bullied. She quickly scanned the room, and after confirming only Willow and I were there, she seemed to summon up immense courage. Lowering her head, step by step she walked up to Willow and said, "I'm sorry, I shouldn't have torn up your notebook. I'll pay someone to copy it back for you." Sophia's tone was still a bit reluctant. Willow froze for a moment, but soon gave a gentle smile. She said, "It's fine, I'll rewrite it myself." Sophia didn't respond to Willow. Instead, her gaze suddenly turned to me. In a pitiful voice, she said, "I apologized." When I didn't answer, she repeated it again, her tone carrying a trace of ingratiation. "I apologized to Willow." Willow said softly, "George, I'll wait for you outside. Make sure to talk things through with her." Then Willow turned and walked out of the classroom. As soon as she left, Sophia rushed to my side. She lifted her sleeve to show me a scratch on her arm. Pitifully, she said, "I got hurt. I was injured when I ran out earlier." Her eyes looked at me expectantly, but when she saw my expression remain cold, that little spark of hope in her quickly dimmed. Her voice grew smaller, weaker, trembling as she said, "You don't like me anymore." I spoke firmly. I don't like you anymore." Tears streamed down Sophia's cheeks. She said, "But I already apologized to Willow." My voice was still calm and steady, like my heart. "I saw that, but I don't like you," she sobbed. "You're not allowed to not like me. It's my fault. I was too spoiled." Sophia hung her head like an abandoned kitten, gripping my sleeve tightly while repeating apologies over and over. "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have thrown her notebook. I shouldn't have lost my temper." The next second, I cut her off. It has nothing to do with any of that. I smiled and said, why can't you understand? I never liked you from the very beginning. From the first time you mocked me, it was already decided that I could never possibly like you. Sophia suddenly lifted her head and asked, then why did you say you liked me a little? Her innocent eyes stared at me, still glistening with tears. Lightly, I said. It was revenge. Revenge. She repeated the word blankly, as if she couldn't comprehend it. Her tears kept falling. Crying, she said, why revenge me? Why make me fall for you, then throw me away? What did I do wrong? Tell me. I'll change. I promise I'll change. Sophia's words grew incoherent. Her hands clung desperately to my sleeve, refusing to let go. I said, you should learn how to respect others. Of course, I have no interest in teaching you. I pried Sophia's hand off, and as I turned to walk out of the classroom, I saw Willow leaning against the wall. She closed the English vocabulary book in her hand, her eyes still clear and gentle. So she had been standing outside the whole time, listening to everything. I felt a bit helpless. Willow said softly, let's go together. I nodded and replied, okay. Chapter 19. When I got home, I received a WeChat message from Alicia. She wrote, Sophia cried in the dorm for 2 hours, like she'd just been dumped. When I asked her, she wouldn't say. She just kept asking me how she could earn someone's forgiveness. I replied, that's pretty pitiful. She wrote, feels like a lovesick fool. So childish. I replied, well, not every girl is as excellent as you. Just comfort her properly. She said, she told me that person was you. I replied, that can't be. I think my relationship with her is pretty ordinary. She asked, then why is she crying over you nonstop? How far has your relationship gone? I don't mean anything by it. I'm just curious. At the top of the chat, I kept seeing the other person is typing, but no new messages came through. I paused, my fingers tapping. Then I wrote, Alicia, are you jealous? How about we meet by the back gate of the school? Alicia replied, on my way. The back gate was right by the dorms. It wasn't that I came out just to explain things to her. Honestly, I was just hungry late at night and came out for some snacks. Passing by the school, I even made Alicia wait 20 minutes. From a distance, I could already see her figure standing by the back gate. When she saw me approach, she instinctively tucked her hair behind her ear, and with a soft smile said, it's late. Why did you come to school? She added, you didn't have to come just to explain. We're just friends. After all, her tone was light, her words seeming to draw a boundary between us. Alicia wasn't like Sophia, she was good at push and pull. I said, no other reason. I just wanted to see you. I met her gaze with a particularly gentle smile. She narrowed her eyes slightly and let out a soft hum, saying, you came all the way here just to see me? Her voice rose lightly at the end. Yes, I answered with complete sincerity. Alicia's eyes looked especially gentle in the dark night, like 2 pools of clear water. I said, well, now I've seen you. So, good night. I turned to leave. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Wait. Alicia's soft voice called from behind me. I turned back, deliberately showing a puzzled expression. She said, come here. Her voice was alluring. I walked over. Alicia raised her slender, fair hand. She quickly pulled off her hair tie. Her hair fell loose instantly, spilling smoothly over her shoulders. She gave her head a little shake, her black hair rippling like water. The next second, she slowly slipped that hair tie onto my wrist. She said, good night, George. Chapter 20. Sophia seemed to have found a direction. She began devoting herself to making peace with me. She seemed to believe that it was Willow who had influenced the relationship between her and me. So she started imitating and targeting Willow. First, she imitated Willow's personality. For example, Willow usually loved to smile and spoke gently. During class, Sophia forced a smile in my direction. It was giving uncanny valley vibes. But for now, she didn't dare talk to me, and I ignored her. Next, she copied Willow's outfits. Sophia, who had always loved wearing luxury brands, suddenly began dressing in preppy academy-style skirts every day. Even the color of her shoes matched Willow's. Willow studied very diligently. Sophia also wanted to copy this, putting on an act by flipping through pages quickly, taking endless notes, and trying to create the appearance of being hardworking. When she encountered easy problems, she would suddenly clap her hands and loudly mutter to herself, oh, I get it now. This is so easy. When she came across hard problems, she would leave them blank and pitifully say, I really need to find someone to study this with me, who can help me. On one math test, aside from the multiple choice questions, she left everything blank. No one paid her any attention. She even came up with the dumbest trick of all, trying to get my attention by talking to other guys. She carried a test paper with over 80% blank answers to the top student in our class, forcing him to tutor her. Everyone in our class thought she was acting crazy. they didn't dare reject her outright, so they reluctantly explained 2 problems. But during the explanation, Sophia didn't listen seriously at all. She kept stealing glances at me from the corner of her eye. Her expression seemed to say, if you ignore me, there are plenty of others who won't. Willow watched this ridiculous act and felt it was disturbing others. She walked up to Sophia and, in a restrained tone, said, Sophia, stop it. He's busy too. Immersed in her little performance, Sophia reacted as if she had been kicked. She suddenly raised her head and shouted rudely, it's none of your business. Stop pretending to be nice. This was all Alicia's idea. She's the one who really cares about me as a true best friend. It was the first time I saw Willow angry. The always gentle and quiet girl now showed an expression of speechless disbelief. She frowned and said, if you keep this up, I'll ask the teacher to change seats. Our main task right now is to study. Please don't disturb others. Her voice was calm, but her tone was unusually firm. Chapter 21. Before the final exams. It snowed. Lately, I had been overthinking too much. Maybe my immune system couldn't keep up. I caught a cold. During class, I was afraid my coughing would disturb everyone. So I always tried to suppress it, or cough quietly, but it was hard to hold it in. So after class, I went to the water room to get some hot water, hoping drinking would help. When I returned to the classroom, I found that the windows, just ventilated a moment ago, were now all closed. Willow was standing at the last window, tiptoeing to shut it. Even though it was snowing, our PE teacher hadn't gotten sick, so we had an outdoor class in the snow. PE class was combined for Class 1 and Class 2. Most of the students from both classes happily rushed out together to play. Some had snowball fights. Some slid around on sleds. Even the gloomy Sophia from before was crouching on the ground, letting Maria pull her arms and slide her around for fun. I, with my cold, just stood on the side watching the snow. When I turned my head, I noticed Alicia had somehow walked over beside me, standing shoulder to shoulder with me, wearing a thick scarf that didn't really match her style. Alicia asked, "Why aren't you playing in the snow?" I replied, "I caught a cold." Then I put on my mask. I casually asked, "Why aren't you playing either?" Alicia said, "I've never played in the snow since I was a child." She added, "My mom, she was very strict with me. She said snow is dirty, and I'd get sick if I played in it. She raised me alone and it was hard on her, so she didn't want me to cause her more trouble by falling ill." As she spoke, Alicia lowered her eyes, and her face showed just the right hint of sadness and helplessness. That's exactly how a pretentious coquette behaves, always bringing up her broken family background, her damp and rainy childhood, with such intimate topics. When she lays them out, it's like a kitten deliberately getting itself wet, brushing its tail against your leg as it passes by. "Pay attention to me, pity me." That's the little kitten's voice. I sighed lightly and said, "I see." Then I bent down, scooped up some broken snow from the steps, gathered it into a tiny snowball, and casually stuck a twig into it. Holding the snowball in front of Alicia, I said in a playful tone, "Look, doesn't it look like the soot sprites from Spirited Away? Have you seen Spirited Away? Actually, you're a bit like the heroine inside, innocent and kind. There's a kind of feeling girls call vibe." At that moment, I looked at her sincerely, smiling as I held out the snowball. Alicia paused slightly, then carefully picked the snowball from my hands. It was too fragile. The snowball instantly fell apart. We looked at each other. Alicia couldn't help but laugh. I gave an awkward smile, but her laugh was especially gentle. I said, "There wasn't enough snow." Before I could finish, I sneezed. Alicia's slender, fair hands held her scarf. She slowly unwrapped it. Then tiptoeing, she draped it around my neck. She lifted her head, so close that I could almost smell the citrus scent on her. I remembered hearing Sophia complain that Alicia had been using perfume since middle school. "That's how a school beauty is, an exquisite girl." In a soft voice, she said, "This is actually something I knitted for you." On her always perfect image, her cheeks revealed a trace of girlish shyness. She added, "Knitting scarves is one of my tiny, insignificant skills." Chapter 22. While Alicia was chatting with me here, she forgot one thing. This was PE class. Even though we were in a nearly empty hallway, with a flower bed blocking the view in front, that couldn't block a madwoman. Sophia had been gritting her teeth, standing behind a pillar, watching us, no one knew since when. When she saw Alicia put her scarf on me, she rushed out. Sophia grabbed Alicia's hair in one hand. She cursed angrily. "Slut, who told you to seduce him? I treated you as my best friend, and you sneaked behind my back to seduce him." Before Alicia could even respond, Sophia yanked her hair and slapped her across the face. In an instant, a big red mark bloomed on Alicia's pale cheek. At first, Alicia's face showed shock, but very quickly it turned into anger. She bit her lip and shouted, "Sophia, are you insane? You lunatic. Let go of me." "Ah." Sophia tightened her grip on Alicia's hair. hysterically screaming insults. You filthy bitch, go get a part-time job at a bar. Take your scarf and get lost. We're not best friends anymore. But Alicia wasn't just going to take the beating. She grabbed Sophia's wrist and raised her leg to kick her. The two of them tore into each other. The noise quickly drew over other students, but no one dared to step in. Willow, who had been in the office helping a teacher grade assignments, came running when she heard the commotion. Seeing the scene, her face showed a trace of shock, but she quickly calmed down, walked forward, and pulled them apart. She asked, "Do you both want to get punished?" I spread my hands and stood aside with a look of confusion. Willow glanced at me and shook her head helplessly. Once separated, Alicia instantly regained her composure. She said, "Sorry, I didn't mean for this to happen." It was Sophia who suddenly went crazy. Sophia glared at her, eyes flashing sharply. She spat. "You damn bitch, you dared to hit me. Just you wait." Alicia turned her face toward me, biting her lip slightly. She pitifully said, "It hurts." Willow sighed helplessly. "The teacher asked me to bring you both to the office. We're roommates, why make such a scene?" Willow suddenly paused, her gaze landing on me standing at the side. Willow was so perceptive, so sharp, she might have already sensed my hand in this. In her eyes, I had probably already become a scumbag. Sorry, but it was satisfying. Chapter 23. On Saturday break, Willow asked me to go home with her. On the way back, Willow suddenly said, "Was it you, the one who made them turn against each other?" I stayed silent. I quietly waited for Willow's criticism. She was always clear about right and wrong. She must resent me now. But Willow suddenly turned her head, her voice filled with shame. "It was my fault because I rejected you. You lost face, and that's why you did this. It must have really distracted you from studying. Don't do this again. I'll talk to them." Sophia was given a demerit and sent home for a month of reflection. Alicia was sent home for a week of reflection. I listened to Willow. The revenge was over. Although there was still Maria. Willow said we should focus on studying first. When I got back, I deleted Alicia. Alicia sent me many friend requests, writing long messages in them. She wrote, "You turned me into a joke. So was it fake when you said you liked me? Give me back my hair tie. Actually, maybe I never really liked you either. Don't you think you're always just an average, overconfident guy? I really don't know where you get that confidence from. Sorry, but I'm still one of the popular ones at school, while you remain a pathetic, insignificant incel mocked by others." I had never seen Alicia this undignified. I added her back and sent her a short video. In it, I threw her hair tie into the toilet. Alicia looked like she went crazy. She bombarded me with messages on WeChat. "You must feel proud for playing me like a fool, but I'm telling you, I didn't lose. What the hell are you even?" I immediately blocked and deleted her. That way, I wouldn't see her messages anymore. I focused on practice problems and exam prep. But somehow Alicia got my phone number. She kept sending me text messages. It was like she was split in two. Sometimes she wrote strange things. My face hurt so much from Sophia scratching me. I've been completely isolated in the dorms. It doesn't hurt to be hit. It doesn't hurt to be isolated. It doesn't hurt to be scolded by my mom. What hurts is my heart. It hurts so much I can't breathe. Have you eaten? I miss you. I want you to meet me downstairs at the dorm. The moonlight is beautiful, and the wind is gentle. Good night. Add me back, please. I have something to tell you. I set her texts to do not disturb as well. A week of punishment was still too light. By the second week, I saw Alicia again. She casually stood at our classroom door, still wearing her gentle smile, chatting with Maria. I ignored them and went straight back to my seat to study. After a while, the class suddenly burst into cheers. When I looked up, I saw Alicia and Maria handing out little snacks one by one. She looked gentle and saintly, like an angel descending to hand out relief porridge to refugees. Alicia said softly, "The weather is cold. Since our classes are sister classes, I came to share some snacks with everyone." When Alicia reached my desk, I kept my head down, working on problems, and said impatiently, "No need to give me any, thanks." She said, "I've let it go. George, do what you want with it." Her voice was still gentle, betraying no emotion. The words "let it go" carried a double meaning. I responded with a casual "oh," then tossed the snack to the girl sitting behind me. That night, I received another text from a different number. "How could you throw away my things? Give me back my hair tie." This was straight up psychotic. Chapter 24. I didn't go looking for Maria. Instead, Maria came looking for me. After school, she stopped me at the school gate. Her figure was curvy and alluring, her foxy eyes seductive. Her tone was a bit lazy, eyebrows raised as she looked at me. "I heard you've hooked 3 girls from our dorm. You've got guts." I brushed past her and kept walking, ignoring her, but she suddenly reached out and grabbed my arm. Her voice lifted, carrying a tone like she was watching a drama unfold. She gave a cold sneer. "Am I next? But I'm not as easy to fool as they are. Maria let go of my arm. Her eyes were full of disdain. Her expression clearly meant, "You can't control me." I let out a mocking laugh and said, "It was never about you anyway." I added, I paused, then stated clearly, "I've never even looked at you seriously." After that, I didn't look at her again, just walked straight ahead. For 2 seconds it was quiet behind me. Then I heard hurried footsteps. Maria jogged up to my side. Her proud expression was slipping, her brows slightly furrowed. Her tone carried disbelief. She asked, "You like those 3, but not me?" She stepped in front of me, emphasizing her presence. She said, "Out of the 4 of us, I'm the best catch, right? Sophia is an idiot. Alicia is a pretentious coquette. Willow just comes from an ordinary family. I've got the best figure, I'm the prettiest, and my family's situation is decent too, so why would you leave me out?" Maybe it had something to do with Maria being known as the swimming goddess. She just liked engaging in female rivalry in the strangest situations. Chapter 25. Maria began appearing in front of me frequently. She and Alicia often stood at our classroom door chatting, but I had no time for them, because finals were approaching. I cared deeply about rankings and grades, so I used almost every moment to study. Even on the way to the cafeteria, I glanced at my vocabulary book, silently reciting words in my head. As I passed the playground, a sudden scream pierced my ears. I looked up, just in time to see a girl slip and fall toward me. Without thinking, I quickly stepped aside. It was Maria. She fell to the ground, breathing a little heavily, and said, "Sorry, I tripped just now." I gave her a glance and replied flatly, "Get up yourself." Then I lowered my head again, flipping through my vocabulary book, and turned to leave, but she stood up and blocked my way. "Do you love studying that much?" I tried to walk around her alluring figure, but she blocked me again, speaking irritably. "Can't you even spare a word?" I raised my eyes and asked, "What do you want to hear?" She touched her nose awkwardly, looked away, and said, "Anything will do," I answered. "Then wait until after the exam." I didn't stop again and left. After finals, I rose from 5th place to 1st. At the award ceremony, I gave a speech as the student representative. As usual, after the thanks and sharing, I paused and said, "To the school athletes, though knowledge and sports are different tracks, passion and effort have always been the same." The crowd stirred, and the students applauded. I couldn't see anyone clearly, just remembered the thick certificate of honor in my hand. As I stepped off the stage, Willow, ranked 2nd in the school, was standing there. We walked back to class side by side. I heard her puzzled voice, "Why suddenly talk about the athletes?" I replied in a deep tone, "There'll be a sports meet during break." The homeroom teacher asked me to give them some encouragement. After the ceremony, students returned to their classrooms. I also went back and pulled out test papers to work on. Between sets, I unintentionally looked up. Through the clear corridor windows, I saw Maria standing quietly outside. Through the glass, our eyes met. I said nothing. I didn't smile, but she suddenly gave me a half smile, half smirk. She raised her wrist. The bracelet on it glowed faintly red. The third one. I had won again. Chapter 26. Maria invited me to watch her swimming competition. Outside, it was a cold winter. Inside the swimming hall, though, it was hot and humid. The stands were crowded, but I found a seat near the front. Maria soon appeared. She stood at the front row, waving at me. She was wearing a black and white cat-patterned one-piece swimsuit. Her waist slender, her legs long. The starting gun fired. She leapt into the water, her movement crisp and clean, with barely a splash. In the water, Maria's form was smooth and fluid. In just the blink of an eye, she had reached the finish. I looked at the scoreboard after she touched the wall. She was first, propping herself up at the pool's edge. She climbed out with ease. A teammate laughed and tossed her a towel. She caught it casually, wiped her face, and immediately began scanning the crowd. Then, she saw me. The next second, she walked straight toward me. She sat beside me and asked, "How was it?" Her breathing was still uneven, but her tone was casual, as if she was certain I would praise her. I gave an objective assessment. "You swam fast." She blinked and said, "And besides that." Before I could react, she lifted her leg and rested it on my thigh. Fresh from the water, there was still some dampness. She said, "How about this? That's what carried me just now." She raised her eyes toward me, her gaze sultry, brimming with a kind of proud seduction. I held her ankle lightly and asked casually, "Want to keep going?" The moment I finished, Maria instantly pulled her leg back. The proud expression vanished at once, and her cheeks, ears, even her neck flushed bright red in an instant. She said, "Not now. I just turned 18. She held up her towel to hide her face, which was already completely red. In a lowered, shy voice, she whispered, "After graduation." I asked, "What are you talking about?" "I was asking if you have another race." I looked at Maria in some confusion. Maria immediately tossed the towel onto my head. With a sulky tone, she said, "How did I never notice before that you're so good at teasing people?" Chapter 27. After the swimming competition ended, I walked Maria home. By then it was already late. The neighborhood lights glowed from each household. The night breeze was sharp and cold. At the entrance of her apartment building, I was just about to leave, but Maria suddenly hooked her arm around my neck, and in an instant, she pressed against me. Her fragrance crashed unprepared into my nose. I asked, "What are you doing?" "George." Maria tilted her head up, looking at my puzzled face. Her lashes fluttered, a mischievous smile tugging at her lips. She said, "I've never liked half-hearted, blurry ambiguity. Stop testing me." She gently tugged down her collar, revealing her shoulder. Biting her lip, she said, "I really like you a lot. Don't you want to try me?" Maria was incredibly forward. I looked into her eyes. In her black pupils, there was a trace of brown, like fireworks bursting suddenly in the night sky. Is there anything more brutal than rejecting someone right when they throw a fastball straight at you? I gave Maria a gentle smile, thinking I was reciprocating. Maria closed her eyes, tilting her head up, waiting for me to kiss her, but at the same time, she heard my faint voice. "So, that's it, you like me, huh?" I chuckled. "But I don't like you." The words were light as air, yet Maria looked as if something had struck her hard. She instantly stumbled 2 steps back. I sighed. "You didn't really think I liked you too, did you? I only treated you as a way to kill boredom. Just playing around." I continued. "Like you said yourself, you're kind of pretty. You've got a nice figure, and your family's well off. But if you thought that meant I liked you too, you're gravely mistaken." I smiled at her and added, "I don't know where you learned it from, this kind of barefaced seduction. You really are." I paused, then enunciated each word. "Cheap." The fireworks in her eyes suddenly went out. Maria froze completely in front of me. Her lips pressed into a tight line. Her trembling voice came out between clenched teeth. "George, you played me." Each word sounded like it was forced out from between her teeth. I smiled and said, "Yeah, it's over now." With that, I turned to leave. I had barely taken a few steps when she suddenly hugged me from behind. The girl's cheek pressed against my back. I heard her low voice, "George, there's no such thing as provoking someone and then walking away." She gave a cold laugh and said, "George, the days are long. If you think you can get rid of me, no way." Chapter 28. Willow told me that their dorm group chat had been renamed the Victims Alliance. It seemed like their relationships had been restored again. Back then, Alicia and Sophia had fought so ugly, but in the end they reconciled and became close sisters once more. It felt as if they were plotting something, especially since now they were all being unusually warm toward Willow. I felt that my revenge plan had already been completed, so I decided to return my life to normal. It just so happened that during the holiday, I started working at a restaurant near my neighborhood. I was assigned specifically to deliver takeout for the restaurant. By coincidence, on my very first day at work, I saw Willow. She was working there as a waitress. I saw her in a red apron with cartoon prints on it. Slender and graceful, she still carried herself with poise. When she saw me working there, her eyes showed no curiosity or doubt. Nor did she display any sense of inferiority for being a waitress. She simply nodded at me in greeting, then went back to being busy, taking orders, serving dishes, wiping tables. Her face was always graced with a gentle smile. Willow and I each did our own work. I rode my electric scooter back to the shop for another order. She looked up from wiping a table, smiled at me, and said softly, "Back already?" The warm light above reflected on her cheeks, making her look even more radiant, lips red and teeth white. For a moment, I felt as if I were back home, with a wife who had prepared dinner asking after me, thinking that made me feel oddly embarrassed. Before New Year's Eve, the restaurant closed early. The boss cooked a few dishes and insisted that Willow and I take them home to eat. We refused several times, but the boss's enthusiasm was unstoppable. So we each carried food boxes, awkwardly pushed out the restaurant door. Willow tilted her head slightly and said, "Come eat at my place." I answered, "All right." Chapter 29. I knew that Willow's parents had died in a car accident when she was 12. At that time, things were very hard for her. Her uncles all came scrambling for the compensation money. Willow had stood there among them, being pulled back and forth. I even saw one aunt scold her. "You just had to make them come back for your birthday. If not for you, would they have gone on the highway in the rain and died? How could you be so selfish?" Back then, I was still young. I begged my parents to help. My mom and dad went several times, but since it was someone else's family matter, there wasn't much they could do. In the end, most of the compensation money was taken away, leaving Willow with only a little bit of money and this old house. Since then, Willow lived there alone. Her clothes were always clean and tidy. My mom often asked me to bring Willow meals, but Willow always refused. Afraid of troubling us, Willow's home was just like her, clean, filled with warmth. She placed all the dishes onto plates. I said, "That's so much trouble. You'll have to wash the dishes after." Willow smiled, lowered her eyes, and said, "This way, it feels like home. And I like doing housework." I told my parents that I'd be spending New Year's Eve dinner with Willow. After the meal, I thanked her and prepared to leave. Just as I stepped outside, Willow suddenly called after me. She said, "George, what is it?" I turned back to look at her. Under the warm light, Willow's gaze seemed especially gentle. She looked as though she wanted to say something more. But in the end, her lips moved without speaking the words. Instead, she said, "Happy New Year's Eve," I replied. "You too." This was Willow's 18th New Year's Eve, and the 6th one she had lived through alone since her parents' death. Chapter 30. On the first day of the new year, I knocked on Willow's door. When Willow opened it and saw me, she wasn't surprised. In fact, because of her family situation. Every year my mom sent me over to have New Year's Eve dinner with Willow. Willow, slender in figure, was wearing an apron. She looked just like a gentle, virtuous wife. From the kitchen drifted the savory fragrance of braised dishes. I said, "Happy New Year, Willow. You're making braised food. Smells amazing." When I was 15, my favorite was braised duck, but it was terribly expensive. I had once complained about that to Willow. She hadn't replied at the time. But later, after going home, she quietly learned how to make it. Every year since then, she would bring braised dishes to my house, saying it was to thank my parents for taking care of her. I placed the gift I had brought for Willow on the table. Willow brewed tea for me. As she turned back toward the kitchen, the doorbell rang. My first instinct was that it must be Willow's money-grubbing relatives coming to cause trouble. But when I opened the door, it was 3 girls. I asked, "What are you doing here?" My tone wasn't friendly. Alicia answered softly, "We went to your house to wish you a happy new year. Auntie said you were at Willow's, so we followed." Sophia was standing in the back. Since that incident, I hadn't seen her again. She had been sent home for a month of reflection and didn't even take the final exam. I had received a few messages from her during that time, but I never replied. Now, the moment she saw me, she bit her lip instinctively, looking timid. As I hesitated over whether to close the door, Maria had already stepped in on her long legs. With perfect self-assurance, she said, "Willow is our best friend. Coming here to share a meal isn't too much, is it?" Willow had heard the voices. She came to stand behind me and said softly, "Come in, all of you." Chapter 31. Alicia smelled the aroma from the kitchen. After placing the cake she brought on the coffee table, she followed into the kitchen and said, "Willow, you're cooking, right? Let me help. I'm good at cooking too." As she spoke, Alicia flashed me a smile. She said, "George, you should have a taste too." Her attitude was affectionate and gentle, as if there were no barriers at all between us. That hysterical person from WeChat seemed like she had never existed. Alicia entered the kitchen, and Willow, unable to refuse, had no choice but to agree. The two of them cooked together. Alicia said, "I remember George's taste. He likes spicy food. We can add more chili." Willow answered softly, "But every time he eats too much, he gets stomachaches. Just a little spice is fine." Alicia replied warmly, "Willow, you're so considerate." I sat on the sofa, scrolling on my phone. Sophia was a bit uneasy. Several times she glanced in my direction, only to turn her head away again. Maria, on the other hand, acted familiar. She leaned close to me, saw me playing a game, and praised me. "George, you're amazing. Your skills are so precise." As expected, someone good at studying is also this good at gaming. Maria sat very close to me, which made Sophia grow more and more upset as she watched. She stomped over and pinched Maria's arm angrily. She snapped, "There's so much room on the sofa. Why do you have to sit right here?" Maria rolled her eyes and retorted, "I just want to sit next to George. What's the problem with that?" She lifted her head, lips curled into a smile. Sophia, once again, spat venom. She shouted, "Get lost. Even dogs can smell your slutty fox stench. Why don't you just die? George doesn't even want you sitting next to him." Maria shot back, "You are not a fish. How can you know the joy of fish?" The two were about to start quarreling again. I put my phone down, raised my head, and said helplessly, "You're too noisy." Sophia immediately admitted fault. "Sorry." Then she widened her almond-shaped eyes, looking at me pitifully, and said, I'll curse her in a very quiet voice. "Please don't hate me." Chapter 32. After the food was ready, we sat down at the table. The atmosphere was a little subtle. Alicia wore that flawless gentle smile as she lifted her drink cup, tapping it lightly. She said, "Well, how should I put it? This is our first New Year's spent at Willow's home." Then she added, "No matter what happens in the future, I hope we can all remain good friends and always wish the best for each other." Alicia loved being the center of attention, so she went on, speaking in an affected way, reciting New Year's blessings that seemed clearly memorized in advance. While Alicia was speaking, Maria used the serving chopsticks to place a chicken wing into my bowl. She said, "Eat more. Okay, you've gotten so thin from all that studying." Resting her chin on one hand, her brows and eyes curved in a smile as she looked at me, Alicia instantly stopped talking, quickly putting a rib into my bowl as well. She said, "This is my specialty dish. George, try it." Today she wore a high-neck sweater that made her look dignified and elegant. She kept her eyes fixed on me, her smile unwavering, as if the whole world around her had disappeared and there was only me. Sophia, seeing what the others were doing, directly picked up a spoon and began scooping dish after dish into my bowl, watching the growing mountain of food piled up in front of me. I started to get annoyed. I was just about to slap my chopsticks heavily onto the table, but Willow noticed the displeasure on my face. She said, "All right now." Her calm, gentle voice sounded at just the right moment. She reached out to pull Sophia's spoon away, her gaze soft as she looked at me. She said, "Let George eat properly. His bowl can't even hold more food." She feigned anger and added, "If anyone keeps causing trouble, they won't be allowed to join when we go release the wishing lanterns later." Sophia immediately behaved. Maria's gaze drifted between Willow and me, her lips curled in a half-smile. Meanwhile, under the table, Alicia kicked my foot, but unfortunately, she got the wrong person. She had kicked Willow's instead. Chapter 33. After dinner, we went to release wishing lanterns. By the riverside near the neighborhood, the open space was safe. Every year, many people came here to set off wishing lanterns. We went together in a big group. The sharp evening wind blew against our faces. The wide river stretched out, its edges glowing red from reflected lights. Willow handed out the lanterns she had prepared, telling everyone to write down their wishes. Sophia tried to lean in to peek at what I was writing. Before I could dodge, a hand had already yanked her ponytail, dragging her away like pulling back a disobedient puppy. It was Maria. Willow gently persuaded Sophia, "Wishes are something private. If someone else sees them, they won't come true." I couldn't be bothered to talk. I just picked up the pen and carefully wrote, "May my wishes be fulfilled. May I succeed in the exams." The pen paused, but in the end, I only wrote the safest, most certain hope. I folded it carefully and tucked it into the corner of the lantern frame. Sophia leaned toward me again, smiling playfully. "Guess what my wish is?" I replied. "I won't guess." My refusal was blunt and decisive. She said, "Then I'll tell you." It was as if she hadn't heard my rejection at all. She leaned closer, her fingers subconsciously pinching my sleeve and shaking it lightly. Her beautiful almond-shaped eyes reflected the river's sparkling golden ripples, shining brightly. She said, "My wish is that every single one of the wishes you just wrote comes true." No sooner had Sophia finished than Alicia's smiling voice slid in like the night breeze. "What a surprise from our little princess. You can score 30 points in Chinese, yet say something so tender. How long did you scroll on Douyin before finding such a perfect script?" Sophia shot back, "Go to hell. I thought of it myself. You're just jealous of me." Sophia bristled instantly, baring her teeth and claws as she lunged toward Alicia. I glanced at the two of them, and Sophia quickly shrank back pitifully, while Alicia also stopped. On the other side, Willow's wishing lantern was already floating gently upward. Maria didn't release a lantern. She just stared at the cold river surface, her back to the dark sky and the river of light above. Turning her head slightly toward the quiet Willow beside her, she asked casually, "Willow, what's your wish?" But before Willow could answer, Maria cut herself off. "Actually, no need to tell me. I can guess. Definitely something about seeking fulfillment, right?" She gave a short, mocking laugh, her voice drifting with the wind, sounding careless. She said, "I don't believe in this kind of thing," but her eyes glowed with an unusually bright light. She said, "What I want has never been about luck, it's about fighting for it myself." Willow replied softly, That's very good. Sometimes, I really envy your courage." Maria's eyes burned with intensity. She stopped smiling and let out a cold hum. "Then keep on envying me." A moment ago, she had been staring blankly at the river. Now, Maria stood tall. She said, "Willow, I admire how you grew up with no one to rely on, yet still stayed resilient and independent. It must have been tough, right?" Willow's profile looked a bit weary under the flickering light. She said, "It's fine," Maria said. "Then keep suffering alone." Her voice was cold and detached, carrying no comfort at all. If anything, it sounded like a declaration of war. She said, "I know you're pitiful, but don't drag others down with you. People stuck in the mud only drag down those closest to them." Sinking deeper and deeper, Willow interrupted softly, "I know." Her clear, cool voice cut Maria off. She lifted her gaze to the faint red glow in the sky. Her voice was so light it nearly melted into the wind. She whispered, "How could I not know?" Chapter 34. At first, I didn't really understand what the three of them were trying to do, but after the new term started, I found out. It seemed the three of them had agreed to target Willow first. Every time Willow appeared within my sight, within 2 minutes at most, they would pull her away for various reasons. Then, one of them would come over to talk to me. Each time it was a different person. It was like they were taking shifts, each got exactly one turn. No more, no less. I thought maybe they had really reconciled, but when I got home at night, I would again receive messages from all three. Alicia's long essays were mainly about putting others down to make herself look better. Maria sent body photos every day without fail. Sophia was the most creative. She made a group by chat, added my mom, and even pulled in over 200 shills. Every day she let my mom buy things for 0 yuan. My mom said she was a thrifty, capable girl. I was speechless, because the college entrance exam was approaching. I had no time to deal with them. Time felt as though it had slowed to a crawl, each day long and heavy. Perhaps noticing how hard I was studying, the three of them restrained themselves somewhat. Sophia also stopped talking to my mom to sing her own praises. On the last class before dismissal, she was there carefully folding the sleeves of every milk teacup I had ever bought her. Actually, there weren't that many. Sophia lowered her head, seriously saying, "I know I'm kind of dumb, and not as pretty as the others," she said. "Ever since I was little, anything I wanted, my parents would hand to me, so I don't really know what to do. All I can do now is not cause you trouble. I'll be obedient. I'll listen, please don't abandon me." The day after she said this, the teacher arranged for Willow and me to be desk mates, so we could encourage each other in our studies. Sophia was moved to the very back row of the classroom, back to the seat where the teacher overlooked her. But this time, she didn't make a fuss, she didn't throw tantrums, she didn't slack off. She kept her head raised, listening intently to lessons she couldn't understand. A classmate asked her, "Weren't you not going to take the college exam?" She replied, "I want to try once." On the classroom wall, there was a board of wish notes for university dreams. I saw her handwriting, "To prove myself in front of the person I like." Chapter 35. Maria also returned to the swimming team. After several rounds of tests, she finally got her wish and entered the provincial team. The provincial team had stricter management. I heard she had to hand in her phone. One day, while I was pouring all my strength into studying for senior year, I suddenly received a WeChat message from her at night. She wrote, "Have you been doing well lately? I just got approved for leave. Only 2 days. I'll go to the school to see you. You probably won't welcome me. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have called you a boring bookworm. Actually, I really envy how good you are at studying. I'm sending you this contact. It's a famous Chinese teacher. I remember Chinese was your weak subject. He'll add you." At the end, I got a voice message from Maria. She said, "I still like you, but this time I'll be waiting for you in the future." Her voice was slightly choked, but her tone was unusually resolute. Alicia also gave me a call. She was busy with her music school entrance exams, so she rarely came back to school. I didn't answer her call, but she left me a message. "Sorry, I was too arrogant before. I looked down on you. In fact, all the excellence I packaged myself in isn't even a tenth of yours. I have a lot to say, but I'll leave it until after the college entrance exam. Good luck on the exam." Chapter 36. I didn't think too much anymore. My brain was stuffed with knowledge, hardly daring to relax for even a moment. I even brought a vocabulary book to the bathroom. Relentlessly, endlessly, I squeezed every drop of energy out of myself. For someone from an ordinary family like me, the college entrance exam was my best path forward. The same was true for Willow. Almost at the same time that my pen never stopped moving, the sound of her pen scratching across paper echoed in my ears as well. Our desk wasn't piled high with books, because the moment either of us nodded off, the other would poke them awake, making sure we both returned to our exercises and lectures. When the class bell rang, we would both collapse onto the desk together, leaning our heads sideways to sleep. I had seen Willow's sleeping face. Her profile looked soft and gentle. All of us were giving everything, nerves taut to the extreme, to help us relax. The homeroom teacher even invited us to the school pond to catch fish. The school had released 600 fish overnight for us to catch. That day, I caught a big one. I put the fish into Willow's bamboo basket and said, "A carp leaping over the dragon gate." After that, everyone quietly returned to studying. On the blackboard, I used red chalk to write, "The effort you give will never be wasted." Just as jade is refined only after being washed and polished by water over a long time, so too can a person achieve something only after enduring trials. In the sweltering June heat, the college entrance exam finally arrived. After finishing all the subjects, I walked out of the exam hall with my pencil case in hand. Sprinkler trucks on both sides sprayed water into the air, forming a watery gate. Through that gate, I saw Alicia and Maria standing on the opposite side, but neither of them spoke to me. As one of the school's star candidates, I was immediately taken away by the teachers. Chapter 37. The moment the college entrance exam results were released, everything was settled. My high school years had held the embarrassment of being rejected after confessing, the caution of plotting revenge, and the release that came after it was carried out. But now, what remained was the joy of success in the exams and the hope of chasing my dreams. Although I was ranked first in the school, I still fell a bit short of being the city's top scorer. As for Willow, her grades were usually on par with mine, but this time, I scored 30 points higher than her. After the results came out, Willow asked me to fill out our university applications together. Her slender fingers flipped through the application guide. She softly asked me, "Shall we go to Peking University together? Both our scores are enough." I nodded and said yes. Later, I received a call from Maria. She had already returned to the team. There was a noisy background sound on the other end of the line. Her voice was slightly hoarse, as if fresh from the water. She said, "I heard about your applications from the teacher. I told my dad about you. He understands a bit, and he said he'd like to help you find someone to plan things out." She added, "You could avoid a few detours. Of course, maybe you don't need it. You might want to carve your own path." Maria, interesting. After the results, our class held a reunion. Sophia announced that she was going abroad to study. She cried buckets as she made the announcement. But in truth, no one cared. Back in school, her grades were poor, and nobody wanted to be friends with her. Halfway through the reunion, I went to the bathroom, where Sophia found me. Her eyes were red from crying, and her voice was pleading. "George, I'm going abroad. I won't be able to be around you anymore. Don't forget me, okay? I listened to you. I started learning to respect others. I will become a kind person. You're not allowed to forget me." I looked into Sophia's amber eyes and asked her, "What was your score on the exam this time?" Sophia's gaze flickered evasively. 250, I said, speechless. "I don't hang out with people that dumb." Tears streamed down Sophia's face even more. She choked and said, "When I go abroad, I'll study hard. I'll use these 4 years to grow and transform. When I come back, can we start over?" I patted Sophia's head. She immediately nuzzled against me, like a kitten waiting to cuddle with its owner. I said, "Then you'd better work hard." Chapter 38. When Sophia and I returned to the private room, Alicia arrived right after. She carried herself with the air of a rightful queen, dressed in a white fitted dress that accentuated her dignified elegance. The corners of her lips held just the right touch of a gentle smile. Her voice clear and melodious, she said, "Sorry to disturb everyone. In that case, George and I will head back first." Then she added, "George, let's go." She walked a few steps closer, her breath carrying a faint sweetness, as if it were only natural. She said, "I've already spoken with Auntie on the phone. She told me to go back with you and meet your parents." So, it seemed Alicia had also been contacting my mom privately. The moment Sophia heard that, she instantly bristled. This was her signature move. She immediately used her position as the group buy organizer to message my mom. Within 5 minutes, my mom called me. "George, you'd better bring Sophia home. She said she'll give me 2 boxes of free-range eggs tomorrow." I was speechless, and hung up decisively. The classmates who had stayed behind sensed the strange atmosphere, and tactfully found excuses to leave. Soon, only the 3 of us remained in the private room. Alicia didn't seem upset at all about my mother's sudden change of heart. Seeing that I was still sitting there, she very naturally sat down beside me. Her phoenix eyes shimmered with watery light as she looked at me, carrying a hint of softness and vulnerability. She said, "George, ever since the exam ended, I've wanted to find you, but you've been avoiding me." She continued, "I heard you're going to Peking University. What a coincidence. I got in too. When the semester starts, let's go register together. Oh, and it's hard to do laundry in the dorm, right? You can give me your clothes too. I can handle it all." She paused briefly, as if sketching out the image of that future, then lifted her gaze to mine. She said, "George, let me stay by your side. All right, as long as I'm with you, I'll find a way to make you feel relaxed and happy. I want to, and I can." Alicia handed me a collar. Her expression was gentle and devout, her tone bewitching as she said, "I'm yours. Everything I have can be yours. So, if you're willing to let me stay with you, please help me put this on." "All right." But before Alicia could say more, a cup of tea suddenly poured down over her head. Her gentle face instantly twisted with shock. She looked up instinctively, only to see Sophia. Sophia was holding a large bowl of pickled fish, saying, "It wasn't me. I was planning to use this to splash you." Right after, a cool, clear voice cut through the room. "Have you sobered up yet?" Chapter 39. Willow came back. She returned just in time to see Alicia's crazed side. She had poured tea over Alicia. In my heart, Willow had always been gentle. I had rarely seen her in conflict with anyone, rarely seen her show aggression. This was the first time. Caught off guard, Alicia let out a short scream. She jerked backward, fumbling for a silk handkerchief, frantically wiping her wet hair and face. Her voice trembled with anger. "Willow, have you gone mad too?" But Willow didn't respond right away. She took the collar from my hand and tossed it to the ground. Only then did she turn back to Alicia and say, "Alicia, stop bothering George with your twisted view of love until you learn how to be a normal person. Stay away from him." Alicia, like a cat whose tail had been stepped on, could no longer maintain her graceful facade. She shrieked, "You have no right to lecture me. Who do you think you are?" Willow then shifted her gaze, landing on the flustered Sophia, her tone cold. "Didn't you say you didn't like George?" Sophia's face looked aggrieved. "I'm sorry, I lied. I still like him." Willow let out a cold laugh and said, "I can't stop your feelings, but I can stop your entanglements." Alicia had finished wiping her face. She lifted her head, her brows and eyes sharp again, a smile curling on her lips, but her voice dripped with venom. She said, "And what right do you have to stop us? Don't forget, you were the one who rejected his confession." Alicia deliberately emphasized the word rejected, her voice crisp and clear, but Willow pressed her lips together and said, "Because I like George." She closed her eyes briefly, as though making a firm decision, and continued, "Because I like George. I didn't want to accept his confession lightly. Because I like George. When I was mired in difficulties, I didn't want to drag him down. Because I like George. I wanted to make sure I was someone worthy of him. I wanted to wait until I was independent enough, until I deserved to accept his confession." The private room fell into sudden silence. When she finished, Willow turned to look at me. She gave a gentle smile, her gaze tender as water, and said, "That's why George and I both applied to Peking University. We'll go to the same city." I looked at Willow and asked calmly, "Willow, do you like me?" Willow lowered her gaze. She was smiling, but the smile didn't reach her eyes. She said, "George, I'm already so jealous I'm going mad," I replied. "Is that so?" Sitting at the dining table, I lifted my head and gave Willow a smile. I said, "But I don't like you anymore." My voice wasn't loud, but in the silent room, it was perfectly clear. Willow's smile froze, her fingertips trembling slightly. How humiliating to be rejected in front of everyone, wasn't it? You'd always been so aloof, didn't this hurt your pride? But when you watched me being mocked, and always maintained your distance as just a friend, how do you think I felt? You could keep your dignity, you could ignore the ridicule, but me? I had always confessed openly, dated openly. I never liked pulling or dragging, I liked playing straight, and yet you never expressed yourself clearly, always hesitant, always half refusing, half inviting. You rejected me, yet couldn't stand to see me with others, always sending mixed signals. Is this really the Willow I once saw as my untouchable white moonlight? I had already seen through you. I had already stopped liking you. Our relationship would end here, completely. The last target of my revenge, Willow. Willow's left hand went to her neck, a defensive gesture. She didn't want to be humiliated in front of Sophia and Alicia. She had always thought I couldn't let her go, even held a faint sense of superiority. But now, she was more embarrassed than Sophia or Alicia. Off to the side, Sophia let out a stifled laugh. Alicia was delighted, leaning closer to squeeze my shoulders, while putting on an exaggerated tone. Oh my, someone was really full of herself. Chapter 40. Willow still kept up that gentle facade. She asked, "Why are you doing this, George? Have you had a change of heart?" See, that's Willow. She crafted herself to look even more perfect than Alicia, even convincing herself that she was the innocent white lotus, that the fault must lie with me. I shrugged and said, "I've simply seen you clearly, that's all. You've always thought yourself innocent, haven't you?" Gently rejecting me, while still keeping things ambiguous. "You knew your roommates mocked and humiliated me, yet you still maintained a good relationship with them, still came to talk with me in private. Don't you think that makes you even more fake than Alicia?" Alicia chimed in weakly from the side. "I even pretended to be your best friend just for George. Honestly, without George, who would even want to be your friend? And after we mocked George, you still carried on with us like nothing happened." She added, "George, I know that couples are supposed to be one body, that they should always protect each other's dignity." Sophia rushed over and yanked Alicia's hair again. She shouted angrily, "Why don't you just drop dead already? Get lost." Willow bit her lip and tried to explain herself to me. She said, "George, you know about my family situation. With that kind of background, how could I dare accept your feelings? I wanted to wait until I was independent, until I was worthy of you, before being with you." Sophia butted in again. "Then you should have just stayed silent. Why speak up now? Going to college doesn't count as independence, does it? You spoke up because you panicked, didn't you? You thought we were shaking George. You were scared. Scared he wouldn't like you anymore. To put it bluntly, when George confessed to you, you weighed the pros and cons, rejected him, and thought you could keep him as a backup. I patted Sophia's head in approval. I praised. Smart little kitten. Sophia's eyes lit up instantly. She turned her head, gave a soft hum. Looking smug, Willow opened her mouth, as if wanting to argue, but in the clarity of my gaze, those words that might have convinced anyone else completely withered away. She suddenly realized, any explanation now would only make her look even more ridiculous and pitiful. Sophia was still shaking her head proudly, as if she wanted to carve the words "I'm so happy" on her forehead. Alicia had already taken out her phone, pretending to check the time, her tone airy as she said, "Oh dear, it's getting late. George, shall we head home?" I stood up without sparing Willow another glance. I said, "No need, I'll go back on my own." I put on my coat, my tone relaxed. At the doorway, I paused. Without turning back, my voice carried clearly through the room. A punctuation mark to tonight, and to the once innocent, bittersweet crush of the past. I said, "Willow, I wish you a bright future, but as for us, this ends here." At 18, on the first day of the new year, I had spent it with you, and that was also our last year together. The door closed behind me, shutting out whatever sounds remained in the private room. The corridor lights were bright and quiet. My revenge plan, only now was it truly complete. The last, and heaviest, piece. My revenge was tearing off that mask of gentleness, forcing Willow to see her own hypocrisy clearly, to lose face in front of those she once thought beneath her, to give back to her, piece by piece, the humiliation and despair she once let me suffer. Willow was no longer the moonlight I once chased. At first, I had liked her resilience in hardship, her persistence and determination, but now, I had already learned those qualities for myself, and I liked myself more. Walking out of the private room, I received a message from Sophia. Her tone was still vicious. She said, "Willow cried. God, it's the first time I've ever seen her cry. I'm so happy." I even took out my phone to record her. She covered her face, but the tears kept dripping down to the floor. I couldn't help but laugh. Sophia really was something, always so bluntly malicious in everything she did. Chapter 41. In truth, I hadn't applied to Peking University, although my score was quite good, in a sea of talent across the country. At Peking University my score might not have secured me one of the top programs. Peking University had never been within my range of choices. By nature, I am reserved. And the path I have always wanted was one of scientific research and heavy industry. So, I changed my application to an industrial university in the south. My phone chimed. It was a message from Maria. She sent me another contact card, followed by a note. "Actually, I have a relative at that industrial university. Do you want him to help you settle in early?" Then a few more messages arrived. Sophia wrote, "No matter where you go, no matter what you do, I will support you." Alicia wrote, "Wherever you go, I'm willing to follow you." I turned off the screen. These nobodies were just passers-by in my youth. Side quests I casually completed while focusing on my main mission of studying hard. From now on, I would continue to pursue that main mission with unshakable resolve. In a court full of nobles, a young man's name must be made.